Hello, everybody. And tonight I have a special guest with me. I have Dr. Kaysen DeMaria. She's going to be filling us in on a lot of information. But before we get started, I have a couple thank yous. I want to thank Raul and Oti. This last month you've been seeing their kids on the internet, and they are so cute. Some of the pictures of the ribbons and the hairs and all the bling bling. So thank you for being the models this past month. Tonight we're going to have some giveaways. We're going to have an ADHD bundle, and we're going to have an ADHD PDF. We do have, you must go to the loading area and say that you're here, and I'll repeat that a couple times. If you want to be eligible to win the ADHD bundle, you are going to need to text to us that you're here, and you need to do that a few times. So we have a lot of questions already that people have talked to us about, and we're going to have a few more. And I am going to tell you that we're going to talk about a variety of subjects that have to do with kids, but this is good for every age. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kaysen just to start as I do some of the technical information also. So Dr. Kaysen, let's talk about some of the first nuggets that we have right here.
Okay, so number one, breast milk, why you should. And I can tell you, especially with working with a lot of pregnant moms and families, breastfeeding is the best milk for the baby. And the reason why is because of the nutrients that are actually in the mom's milk. So as far as healthy oils for the baby, immune cells, also this is going to help with their digestion. And as far as the healing process, you are feeding those nutrients and minerals right to your baby. And as far as different formulas and things like that, I have a lot of questions in our practice as far as, if I can't breastfeed, are there other alternatives or options for my child that are as nutritious? And I can tell you that number one, breastfeeding is the absolute best, but if for some reason you're unable to breastfeed, the next best thing would be making your own baby formula, and we do recommend using organic raw goat's milk, and we do have that recipe available for you. If you wanted to email us, we can go ahead and email that to you. But it consists of goat's milk, but also other things that you want to supply that milk with, as far as healthy oils and some probiotics and other things that you necessarily wouldn't be getting right from the milk.
Probably the best thing to do if you want to get more information, why don't you just go to our website, druglessdoctor.com. And I know that information will come to us. And recently we had some individuals that were having a hard time continuing with their milk, and we used fenugreek. And I know that we've had great success with individuals using it. So that is a little nugget that we have that's made a really big difference. We had a couple other questions that people already asked us. This came from Valerie. It says, Dr. Bob, what is the best evening meal to prevent kids from waking through the night? Now, we know that kids wake through the night for a lot of different reasons, but I would watch the amount of carbohydrates or sugars, even juicing, because if you start juicing earlier in the day, you could be waking up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So if kids go to bed at 10 and they wake up at 11, so I guess I'm thinking about we go to bed at 10, so let's say kids go to bed at 8 or 9 and they wake up an hour later, it usually means they need B vitamins. If kids go to bed at 8 or 9 and they wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, it could be parasites. And if kids go to bed at 8 or 9 and wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, it could possibly be too much juicing. And we have adults that do a lot of juicing and they wake up at that time. This came from Jackie. Can we follow the same routine for eating for toddlers? Can we follow the same routine of eating for toddlers aged 2 to 4? If not, what can they eat if they are very active? And what can be given to toddlers to improve their immune system? Well, and to prevent a cold. And I know in our practice, sugar compromises immune system function. And you want to give these kids as many vegetables as you possibly can, and let them participate with making the vegetables. Wouldn't you say, Dr. Kaysen?
Also, especially for toddlers 2 to 4, their metabolism is a little bit different. The immune system is not completely formed until the baby is 2 years old. So especially, you want to breastfeed as long as possible, and introducing things like vegetables and proteins, lots of minerals. You want to be avoiding things like the grains, high fructose corn syrup, also the processed foods, which also will cause inflammation in the digestive system.
You know, it's kind of interesting about high fructose corn syrup. I would not give your child commercial applesauce, because commercial applesauce oftentimes has high fructose corn syrup in it, and individuals who eat high fructose corn syrup are always hungry. And that would just be another thought, because high fructose corn syrup could be a reason that these kids have a lot of obesity issues. And what we have found with our children in our practice, we like to get them just to get involved with eating and cooking. Wouldn't you say, Dr. C?
Yes, I think the easiest thing, especially toddlers age, you want to make it really fun for them, but doing things like healthier dips and, you know, even mixing up things, making it fun for them, and really participating in the lunch making and also snacks and other things, so that they really feel included, that they have a say in what they're choosing, although you overall have the control of what you're buying in the grocery store. I think the biggest thing also with kids, and if they're hungry often, that also can mean high cortisol levels. And what's really interesting, we don't really think about kids being stressed, but as far as changing schools, divorce, maybe too many activities, outside activities that they're doing, all of these things, they could be more hungry due to having adrenal stress. And especially thinking about toddlers and kids, we don't often really think that kids would be stressed, but a lot of things happen, especially when you're a kid.
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting because you brought up an interesting point, because these kids are very active today. I know that some of you just got home and you maybe left the house at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we really encourage people to take a lot of their food with them. I know that when Dr. Kaysen and myself and Dr. Anthony and Debbie go anywhere, we always have a cooler of food and vegetables. You know, carrot sticks, I know that would be a really good thing. I would avoid fruit, if anything, apple slices and almond butter. Okay? So the next question was, getting and teaching your kids to eat healthy, what are methods that work? And I know we've been having programs in our office, and I know that Dr. Case and Dr. Anthony have had a lot of training in pediatrics. So in your training and what we've seen in the practice, what kind of advice would you like to pass on to our worldwide viewers right now?
I think using seasonings, that's really key. Making things, especially green vegetables, you want to have fun with it. So as far as organic chicken broth, organic butter, Celtic sea salt, any way really that you can get the greens into the food is as far as preparation, soups are really good. Avocados, making homemade guacamole, things like that you can make it fun for the child. But I think as far as the seasoning, really, it's really important that the vegetables aren't bland for them, because if they are, then they aren't necessarily going to be choosing those for their snacks.
I think another really good idea is that we have herbs in our backyard. We have basil and thyme and oregano and chives. And I think that for yourselves, for next springtime, it wouldn't be a bad idea to even think ahead right now to have some herbs and let your kids go and purchase the herbs with you, plant the herbs, add the herbs to salads and different food items like Dr. Kaysen was talking about, because I think that when kids are involved, and they can watch it grow, and give them the responsibility of watering it. I know that we use an organic plant tone as a part of what we do for fertilizing our own herbs. If you have any questions, you can go through and you can type them to us. We will do our very best to answer all the questions that we can before the evening is over. I know that one of the questions is that the immune system, and we're going to be coming into the winter season right now. And as a side note, I know that I use Agricept L. I know that Dr. Kaysen uses Agricept L. You may want to give your children like maybe 4 or 5 drops of Agricept L in any of the beverages that they drink, because that also helps with the strong immune system.
Also, calcium. A lot of times we use with kids calcium, magnesium, even crushing it up helps with the immune system, but also ear infections. We have something called the Aqueous Multi Plus, which is a great multi for kids. It's a liquid supplement, and it tastes really good. And other things as far as immune boosters, coconut oil is a great thing for kids and their immune system too, that you can mix into their vegetables.
Yeah, that's really good, coconut oil. And you could do a lot with coconut oil. As a little side note, is that what we use our coconut for is that we use a rice cake. You want to explain to them how we make our rice cake and almond butter?
Sure. So what we do is we get an organic brown rice cake, And you take your coconut oil and you smear it on it, and then also almond butter, and even for yourself you could use unsweetened organic coconut flakes, and you can make kind of like a little sandwich. And especially for kids, and they might think that they're eating a sandwich, but this has high protein. Also, it's going to help with their blood sugar throughout the day. This is a great treat that you can freeze, or you can put it in the refrigerator. You can pack it in their lunchbox. I think what we're finding in our practice is a lot of times kids might feel singled out as far as what they're consuming. I had a girl, and she had said that she thought her parents were punishing her because in kindergarten she thought that she would be able to eat what everyone else was, but the mom told the teacher no gluten or dairy or sugar, so for lunch and for snack time they didn't give her a snack. So I think figuring out ahead of time what you can prepare your kids with, but also when they're at friends' houses and in school, to make it fun for them, but also that they have a choice and they're fully participating in packing their foods and their snacks.
Yeah, that rice cake and almond butter, it is really tasty. And you could spread some shredded coconut on top of that. And, you know, I had some people today that they want to eat the sweet food. So another thought is that maybe get some shredded coconut and some almond butter and throw some almonds in there, like shredded up almonds as far as a nut, and even throw a couple raisins and make like a ball. And you know, we don't promote raisins because it can cause neck pain, but that's just another logical, an almond ball type of a cookie little ball. Okay, now we got a question that says, comment, my son took 3 years to sleep through the night. This individual, this is a wonderful add-on, by the way, and he used to talk a lot in his sleep. Then we switched from cow's milk to almond milk, and it all stopped. So whoever sent that in, we do appreciate that. And I want you to know that coconut milk itself, it's not coconut oil, but unsweetened coconut milk is just another wonderful option and opportunity. So what would you say, Dr. Kaysen, we have all these people watching us, and they're going to be watching us even after this. What are the best foods to feed your children?
So number one, you want to make sure that they are getting enough protein. A lot of times your kid might be irritable but also cranky throughout the day. That's also a body signal that they need more protein and their blood sugar is low. So as far as healthy oils, healthy fats, those two items are really important for the brain and the nervous system. Also minerals, so green leafy vegetables, proteins, you want to focus on those proteins and fresh vegetables versus the fruits and other grains and things like that that kids might be more apt to want.
You know, I was just thinking, kale chips. I was talking to someone today, an adult, about 38 years old or so, and he was really upset with food. And I know that Dr. Casey and Anthony are the ones that started me on the kale chips. Why don't you talk about, because these are really good. The kale, you know, the kale chips?
Yes, they are.
Do you want to explain to them how to make those?
Okay, so what you want to do, you want to get some organic kale, and what you're going to do is you're going to peel it off the stem. And on a cookie tray or a baking sheet, what you're going to do is you're going to lay it out, and you're going to mix it up with some organic olive oil and Celtic sea salt. Then you're going to put it in the oven at about 325, 350 for about 10 minutes, and then what you're going to do is you're going to flip them over, and then you're going to put them in for another 5 minutes. And what happens is these kale chips, they get really crispy, they're crunchy, salty, they taste kind of like potato chips, but they're kale, they're very nutritious, high in zinc and other minerals, and they are very delicious. And you actually, once you start eating kale and other items like that, you really crave it.
Yeah, I think what would happen is, the reason I brought that up is if you have these kids participate with you, let them go to the grocery store, and I like to get the real big kale, not the little ones, but the big kale leaves, and you can cut that up because it's easier to work with. So the next question that we have here is, why is chiropractic itself so important for children? And I know that we had a wonderful experience today. We had someone that was having some challenges getting pregnant a couple of years ago. She was involved in an all-terrain vehicle. She fractured her pelvis. She had a miscarriage. She came back. We were able to help her. And today was a big day in the office for her because the mom came in with the baby. And we did an assessment. We assessed the mom today. We check kids all the time. So how was that experience, Dr. C? Just checking kids. You know, what's the youngest child that you've checked so far?
Let's see, the youngest child, so number one, before birth, that's the best time to get checked because we want to make sure that the mom's brain, nervous system, and pelvis is in the proper position to have a healthy and easier delivery and birth process. But I think so far the youngest child has been about 2 days old, which has been really, really fun and exciting because that's the best time to get someone checked because that birth process is the first trauma to our spine. So whether it's a natural vaginal delivery or a C-section, obviously one's more traumatic than the other, but the best time to get checked is right away. That's before sports, slips, falls, stress, gravity, sitting, all of these other stresses that our body undertakes during every day.
And I have a really interesting point because we had somebody that gave vaginal birth. The baby would not breastfeed off the mom's right breast because the baby's head was subluxated from birth. So we explained to them that the baby should be checked. Within a very short time period, that child was able to breastfeed off of both breasts. And we just had a young girl that came in today that's going into, I don't know, the 3rd or the 4th grade, and she has asthma.
Mm-hmm.
Kids respond to asthma just that fast. So kids' spine can get subluxated or misaligned just like an adult. They might not complain as much. And you have to be aware that these kids can get involved in motor vehicle accidents also, and that can traumatize their spine. Any other thoughts about the kids that you've seen so far? Because I know you've seen all kinds of ages of kids.
I have some kids, as far as in school, helping with concentration and focus. And I know in a few moments we'll talk about ADHD, but also energy, sleeping, colic, digestion. I had a girl which was really interesting experience. She just came over from a different country and she doesn't speak English, and her parents have been saying how she's really improving, but her hips were clicking and other things that you don't really think about that children might not be able to communicate to you, but by doing a full assessment we're able to see other areas that they might not necessarily have pain, but they're not at 100% function, and being able to work on their body at an early age really helps to set them up for success in the future.
You know what? That young child's breathing has improved also. So if you plan on doing any kind of texting of questions, I'd like you to do that now because, believe it or not, we only have a short time left. So the importance of family time, I can tell you that spending time with your kids, if you're an adult, which obviously you are right now watching us, when my kids were growing up, we used to go fishing and we used to go camping and we used to read to them. You can never give enough time to your kids. And I was going to church. I used to take my sons for breakfast, and we used to make pancakes on that. We just spent time doing activities together, playing ball. And I know that you did a lot with your family, and you did a lot with your grandparents when you were children. And we have kids that come into the office. Any thoughts about that, Dr. Kaysen?
Making family time is really important also as far as eating habits. I think at an early age you want to make sure that you're having a specific sit-down dinner time rather than having the children walk around roaming and snacking, and you want to get into that routine of family dinners and snacks in between, but you really set up the future of the meals and other things that you do as far as with the family.
Yeah, meals are really important. I have 2 other questions here. It says, this one came from Tess. She said, what are the best breakfasts before school? And I can tell you right now, the ones you want to avoid are the sweet ones, that the blood sugar is going to go up and then the blood sugar is going to go down. A scrambled egg would not be a bad thing. We really don't promote oatmeal per se because of the gluten, but you might want to try some brown rice with some almonds in it or some quinoa. Any other thoughts on that, Dr. Kaysen?
Even making, as far as like a quiche or something like that, maybe not as far as using the dairy and the cheeses, but being creative with putting vegetables and other items as far as even chicken and beef and things like that. In the morning, it's not wrong to start with meat and vegetables, making little protein muffin cups as far as scrambling up an egg with peppers or onions or broccoli or turkey sausage or chicken sausage, other things that you can really pack flavor into, but also if they need to eat, on the way to school, or you can pack it up in their lunchbox and they're on the go. You want to really start with a protein in the morning.
That's right. Even roll up some deli meat. Some Applegate usually has a great product. So this individual says, I have kids that are dealing with ADHD. What do you suggest? Well, I would suggest you might want to pursue reading Dr. Bob's Drugless Guide to Stop ADHD in 18 Days. It's all about oil and fat metabolism. We have found through our experience that sugar definitely impairs function. One of our questions was about kids and why should kids get checked. Well, normal neck has a C curve in it, and when we did the pilot program, the kids that had ADHD usually had a straight neck. So you want to have your kids checked for subluxation, and you want to avoid sugar, you want to avoid trans fat. But I think, sidestepping back to the other question, you want to avoid breakfast cereals. Sweetened breakfast cereals could do anybody in. Okay, we had somebody reposted something on Facebook in reference to pizza, and it was talking about pizza, and somebody had an issue, I think, maybe with yeast in that. And I see people have a yeast problem when they eat a lot of sugar. Like, I don't really eat pizza on any type of regular basis, but I know pizza is a big, important staple in people's lives. The biggest issue I see with yeast are people who love to eat sugar, and all of a sudden the yeast is going to start growing in their body. There's a great book called The Yeast Connection by Dr. Crooks, William Crooks. I would get that book and I would follow that. That would help you a lot. If you want to, just as a FYI, we have a couple minutes left. Tomorrow night, if you're on Twitter, I am going to be doing a chat with Empower Her. So if you're on Twitter, I'll be doing a Twitter chat tomorrow between 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock Eastern Time. It's with Empower Her, and it's going to be discussing healthy and unhealthy oils. You can follow at Empower Her. That's EMPOWHER, and at Drugless Doctor. And we'll be having that on our Facebook tomorrow, just so you can follow along. If you want to get the complimentary PDF and or want to be in the drawing for the ADHD book, which we're going to give out in about a minute and a half or so, you have to say that you're here. We are, this particular month, we are supporting Mission Generation. We're going to be making a donation to Mission Generation. They've been very kind to us. Rocky and Huska have been in my household. I know them personally. They used to be in Bolivia. They showed me pictures from Bolivia and the mountain roads and all that, which would not be my favorite place to go. I'm not sure if you've ever seen these before. But they're in Panama, or they're going to be going to Panama right now. Mission Generation. You could do a Google search on that, and I think it would be really awesome to support them. And the winner is Louis Charles Tardy. Please email us at customercare@druglessdoctor.com. That's Louis Charles Tardy. Please email us at customercare@druglessdoctor.com. You won the ADHD bundle, which will help you and your family. I can guarantee that. Our next month focus, which will be in the month of September, we're going to be focusing on oils. We have a few minutes left. Dr. Kaysen, there's anything in your experience that you have had? I know that you primarily see a lot of the kids in our practice, and we have a lot of kids. We have a lot of kids that were in our practice today, all ages. What would you like to pass on that you've learned that could be a little secret that can make a difference in someone's life?
I think the biggest thing is when we ask the kids, if your parents weren't here or grandma and grandpa weren't here and you could eat any food in the entire world, what would it be? And I can tell you, I've had some interesting answers from these children, but the top things are pizza, macaroni and cheese, French fries, and ice cream. So I know that we were talking about the big things you want to work on avoiding are things that have dairy, gluten, corn, soy, and rather than doing that, a better alternative would be packing things in as far as with minerals, so proteins, green vegetables, and making it really fun for the kids. And I know that participation is really important even in our practice. That kids love to bring their stuffed animals in to get checked.
They do.
And it's all about having fun with them and being able to meet them where they're at.
You know, it's kind of interesting as you were talking, hummus. You can cut up vegetables and let the kids eat hummus. You can make your own hummus. You can make your own almond butter. You can flavor hummus. One of my favorite hummuses has dill in it, so you could get chickpeas, you can get your blender or however you do it, and throw some dill in it. So I think that if kids are part of the process and they can participate with that, you know, they don't have to cut the items up. They can be at the store and help you pick some of those items out. I want to just throw out another two that I've learned that I want to pass on to that will make a huge difference. If you have a child that has a chronic fever, or fevers come and go, it's usually a body signal that they need calcium. We use calcium citrate or calcium lactate, easily dissolved. Another one that I just threw out to someone today that I learned from the Grain and Salt Company, and they're wonderful supporters of what we do, is Celtic sea salt in water will help cool down digestive distress. So maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon in 4 to 6 ounces of water, and let the child just sip on it. That will help. So fevers, calcium citrate or lactate. Another thought before we pass on to the next time is going to be iodine. Now you have to be really careful with iodine, but if somebody has growing pains, it could be a body signal for low thyroid. We're going to be coming into the winter season right now. We use a liquid iodine in our practice. Kids could take 10 or 15 drops every day without any particular problem. One last thought as far as this whole winter time. You know, we're going to have different holidays coming on right now, and once a child starts to get sick, it could be a real issue through the whole season. We happen to have a product in our practice called Biotrophic Plus, which is a true whole food supplement that I think would make a difference for your children. And of course, Agnes, we could probably talk for hours and hours. We have just about 35 seconds left, Dr. Kaysen. What would you like to say?
We love seeing kids and families in our practice, so any other questions that we might have stimulated tonight, you can email us and we would be happy to send you information. Also, we are certified in the pediatric and pregnancy certification, so we're able to forward you on to some of those great resources.
And I think also that we see people from all over the United States. We had 11 out-of-town practice members visit us last week. So wherever you're at, just because you don't live in the Ohio area does not mean that you can't come and visit us. And once again, join us next month. We're going to be talking about oils. And then tomorrow night at Drugless Doctor or at Empower, that's EMPOWHER, we're going to be doing a Twitter live time period from 7 to 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We want to thank Missions Generation. You all have a great night, and thank you for passing this information on once it's been posted. Good night, everybody.